Top story, British lawmakers will pass their verdict on Prime Minister Theresa May's plan to take Britain out of the European Union on the 29th of March. Voting is expected to take place after a full day of debate in Parliament. UK MPs will be passing judgment on the deal that Theresa May spent 2 years negotiating with the European Union. If MPs vote the deal down, one of two things is likely to happen. The UK will either leave the EU on the 29th of March without a withdrawal agreement, or that departure date will be delayed. If they back the deal, the UK will leave the EU on the 29th of March, but things will stay broadly as they are until December 2020, while the two sides thrash out a permanent trade deal. The important thing to remember is that British Parliament has already rejected the Brexit plan, and this was by a massive margin. Government ministers are trying to persuade the European Union to make changes to the deal to make it more acceptable to the MPs who voted against it in January. What happens if MPs reject the deal again? If, as many expect, MPs vote down Mrs May's withdrawal agreement on Tuesday, then MPs have been promised a vote on whether the UK should leave without a deal or not. This is likely to take place on Wednesday. If they back a no-deal Brexit in this vote, then the UK will leave without a deal on the 29th of March. If they reject a no-deal Brexit, then they could get a vote on Thursday on whether to request a delay to Brexit from the EU. If May loses the vote on Tuesday by a narrow margin, she could ask the EU for a short technical delay to allow everyone time to regroup and make one last push to get it over the line. So what is in May's deal? The first thing to stress is that it is not a trade deal. It is simply an agreement to allow the UK to leave the EU in an orderly fashion, minimizing disruption to businesses and citizens of the UK and the EU nations. Things would carry on pretty much as usual, at least until the 21 months after the official departure date of the 29th of March. During that time, the two sides would try to hammer out a permanent trading relationship. The withdrawal agreement also commits the UK to paying a £39 billion divorce bill. UK citizens in the EU and the EU citizens in the UK would also retain their residency and social security rights.
Means ensuring that colleagues, parliamentary colleagues, and very...
Now, Mandy Clark, London Bureau Chief, joins us live. Good evening to you, Mandy. There is going to be another vote after a full day of debates in Parliament tomorrow. Now, this Brexit plan has already been rejected by a massive margin. What can we expect to be different tomorrow?
It will be a massive blow for Theresa May, and it always feels like we're saying this is the crucial vote, but really we're running out of time. This is essentially a very difficult, very crucial vote. This is essentially going to decide the future of Britain's relationship with the European Union. Now, you laid it out fairly well. There's no clear path at the minute what will happen next. But if her deal is pretty much crushed by the Parliament, then the question is, do Brexit have a no-deal Brexit, which is would be greatly damaging to the British economy as well as the Europeans, but not to the same extent, or do they push back to see if there's more time to negotiate? Now, the argument would be really, if it wasn't a massive defeat, but still a defeat, she could argue that she just needs to tweak it some more to get it passed through Parliament. Now, we've seen there's a change in stance from when this vote first passed in early January. There hasn't been a massive change in what her deal offers, but we're seeing a change in the Brexiteer stance. They're saying now they're willing to approve May's deal if they just make tweaks to the backstop. Before, they were saying absolutely that backstop has to go. So we're seeing a changing in stance of some of those more hardcore Brexiteers, possibly realizing that a no deal is the worst possible scenario. But will only be clear when the people vote at the voting ballot, and we'll only find out fairly late tomorrow night.
Mandy, what are these tweaks that have been made? And considering all of this, is Britain then on track in terms of the timeline? The 29th of March is just around the corner.
Well, if it gets passed by some miracle, then Britain is on essentially the right timeline. They'll have another 2 years because, as you state, this is simply negotiating the deals of the exit. What what they'll accept. This has nothing to do with the trade deals. They'll have another 2 years to sort that out. But certainly it has gone to the wire to get these information through. That's if it's passed. If it's not passed, then of course there's a crash out as of March 29th.
Thank you so much for that report there. Mandy Clark, Bureau Chief, coming to us live from London.